Hello, this is Created World, and today we are going to be discussing the 10 most interesting facts about the great state of Texas. So without further ado, let's get started right away. To begin, a lot of you may know that Texas is the second largest US state, just behind Alaska. But what you may not know, Texas is a whopping 268,000 square miles. So really fast, just to grasp that perspective, you could take the countries of France and Greece and drop it inside Texas and still have wiggle room on each side. Massive, I know. Matter of fact, if you flew in a straight line from the northwest corner of the Panhandle to the tip of the Rio Grande Valley, you'd cover a span of 801 miles. But of course, since roads are never straight and we're not flying, if you were to drive that, it would actually clock in at nearly 900 miles. Okay, that is a 13 to 15 hour pure drive time road trip. In fact, El Paso, Texas is actually closer to Needles, California than it is to Dallas. You can virtually cross half the United States in the time it takes to get from one side of Texas to the other. And because Texas is so massive, its size and location also make it the tornado capital of the United States. Texas averages about 132 tornadoes every year. But it's not all bad. Of course, Texas is an agricultural titan with over 230,000 farms and ranches covering a staggering 125 million acres across the state. That is more than twice the farmland of the second place state, which happens to be Montana. And with stats like that, it's no wonder why they say everything is bigger in Texas. And Texas isn't just big by size. Let's talk about money. Texas actually has one of the most powerful economies on the planet. With a GDP hitting $2.7 trillion in 2025, Texas is the second largest economy in the United States, accounting for nearly 10% of the entire nation's output. So to put that in a global perspective, if Texas were its own sovereign nation, it would rank as the 8th largest economy in the world. That means that the Lone Star State officially outproduces global heavyweights like Italy, Canada, and Russia. In fact, if you could combine the yearly economies of Portugal, Greece, and even the Czech Republic, you'd still be billions of dollars short of the Texas total. And this massive GDP growth isn't just oil or farming. It's actually being supercharged by a massive boom in aerospace, semiconductors, and high-tech manufacturing. Texas makes bank. Texas drivers don't mess around. Okay, this state has the highest speed limit in the entire United States, hitting a nice calm 85 miles per hour on the toll roads between Austin and San Antonio. And with how massive Texas is, you basically have to move that fast just to get anywhere. Kind of makes sense. Unfortunately, all that speed comes with a heavy price. In the state of Texas, there is a fatal car wreck every 2 hours, and there's a driving-related injury every 2 minutes. But because of that, Texas fights back, being one of the strictest states for enforcement. Consistently ranking in the top 5 for the most tickets issued every year, fines can range from $125 for a minor slip-up to a massive $10,000 fine for serious, reckless driving charges. Seriously, don't mess with Texas cops. So even though Texas might appear dangerous on paper, the state takes its laws very seriously. As a matter of fact, the first thing you see when you cross the border is drive friendly, the Texas way. The next bizarre fact you might not be aware of is that in Texas, you can legally fight. Well, I mean, anywhere you can fight, but not technically legally. To be clear, Texas is one of 2 states in the US that has a mutual combat law. Under Texas Penal Code 22.06, a person accused of assault may argue the victim consented to the fight. This generally applies if there's no serious bodily harm or injury or any bystanders caught astray. So if you have beef with a stranger and you don't mind to get jumpy, ask him for a mutual consensual fight. As long as nobody gets seriously hurt, no weapons are pulled, and you aren't scaring bystanders, you can technically duke it out legally. Mutual combat. On September 8th, 1900, Texas was hit by the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. A massive Category 4 hurricane slammed into Galveston with a 15-foot wall of water, leveling 2/3 of the city and claiming up to 12,000 lives in total. It was absolute devastation. But what happened because of that is one of the greatest engineering flexes of all time. Instead of giving up, the city of Galveston literally raised the entire island. Over the next decade, they used hand-turned jack screws to lift over 2,000 buildings, including a 3,000-ton church by as much as 17 feet, while they pumped in millions of tons of sand underneath. They also built a massive 10-mile seawall to make sure that the Gulf never took the city again. Today, the Great Storm remains a sobering reminder of nature's power, but the rebuild proves that Texas is indeed tough. Did you know Texas has a legal get-out-of-jail-free card for being too big? Well, in a way, let me explain. It's actually called the Divide into Five rule. Back in the 1845 annexation resolution, a special provision was baked in that actually allows Texas to split itself into 5 separate states whenever it wants without needing a single vote from Congress. Imagine a map with North, South, East, West, and Central Texas all having their own governors and senators. And while people will always talk about Texas seceding from the Union to become its own country again, like it was from 1836 to 1845, the Supreme Court actually ruled in 1869 that states can't legally leave the Union. So while Texas can't formally give the bird to the Union and become its own nation, there is absolutely nothing stopping it from turning into 5 mini Texases overnight. If you're an avid hunter, Texas is basically the promised land. The state is home to the largest white-tailed deer herd in the entire nation, with approximately 5 million deer roaming the Edwards Plateau and South Texas brush regions. That is 3 to 4 times larger than almost any other state. And with that many deer, it's no surprise that Texas also has the highest number of registered hunters in the United States. Texas also leads the country with the most registered firearms and highest number of gun-owning households in America. In fact, there are more legal guns in Texas than there are people in some entire countries. Like the saying goes, don't mess with Texas. Texas may seem unnatural to some people, but did you know out of the 7,000 lakes scattered across the state, there is only one that actually occurred naturally? Caddo Lake on the Texas-Louisiana border is the only natural lake in the entire state, covering a massive 26,000-acre stretch of cypress swamp and bayou. It's almost crazy to think about. But since Texas likes to be self-reliant, most of the lakes and reservoirs are man-made because Texas relies heavily on 196 major reservoirs for water supply, flood control, and recreation. Texas takes its barbecue very seriously. Texas is the top meat-consuming state in the United States. Pause. Fueled by a massive cattle industry that dwarfs almost anywhere else. In fact, over 65% of Texans eat beef 3 to 4 times a week. Texans take their brisket so seriously that they've turned food criticism into a blood sport. There are entire organizations dedicated to roaming the state just to find the perfect rib. The legendary Texas Monthly Top 50 list is so influential that it can literally make or break a business overnight. In the Lone Star State, if the smoke is right and the bark is perfect, people will wait in line for 5 hours just for a tray of meat. Texas doesn't just do things bigger, it does them differently. The Texas state stone is actually wood. Petrified palm wood to be exact. Fossilized palm trees from 30 million years ago that turned into rock. And when it comes to wildlife, the state mammal is no surprise, the Texas longhorn. These beasts have the largest horn span of any living animal on Earth. The world record belongs to a steer named Pancho Villa, whose horns measured a mind-blowing 10 feet 7.4 inches from tip to tip. That is wider than the face of the Statue of Liberty. The state dish is chili. I'm surprised it's not brisket, to be honest. The state flower is an iconic blue bonnet, and the state dog is a blue Lacey, the only breed to ever originate in Texas. They're a hardy mix of greyhound, scenthound, and even coyote. Here's a picture of blue Lacey in blue bonnets. How adorable. Toss in the acoustic guitar as the official instrument of Texas and you've got a state identity that's as unique as it is tough. Because at the end of the day, there's only one Texas. Hopefully you learned at least one new thing about the great state of Texas in this video, and if you did or you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and of course I will see you guys in the next one.